Okay, ladies and gentlemen, it is time for game number 2 here of the Millennium Numericable House Grand Finals. Spawning in the bottom position as the blue Zerg player from Team Evil Geniuses, it is Jaedong. And his opponent in the north position, as the red Zerg player from Team Samsung Galaxy Con, it is Solar. And I just want to thank everybody that's tuned into these matches. If you're watching on the VODs, for watching the VODs. But it's been awesome. It's been a fantastic, fantastic tournament so far. And that first game already some high octane action and a lot of trickery, some sick mind games. I really want to give it up for Solar for just, I mean, Jaedong, he had him completely bluffed. It was like, I don't know. It's like he say. Okay, I'm trying to think of like the worst possible analogy that I could make, but I'll save it for later. But man, that was such a good trick. The way that he just basically made him think that he was going to go for the standard Roach setup. He was even upgrading the Evo chambers. Like, he made it look exactly like he wasn't going to go for a crazy 2-base all-in. And Solar opening with the 15 pool, Jaedong opening with the 15 hatch. This game starts with a lot less awfulness. So, we are looking forward to, I think, a fantastic Grand Finals. And this is a best of 7. So Jaedong by no means, like, that's just one game, right? It's just a drop in the change bucket, really, for Solar, because Jaedong is still, I think, crazy good at ZBZ. But Solar is one of those players that, and I talked about this with Cats earlier. The Solar is just a guy that plays a lot. He's one of those Koreans that can come off as somewhat faceless. You don't see him as much. You don't hear about him as much. But Solar is really freaking good. He's been playing in tons of tournaments this year. Online cups. He hasn't really been able to get out to actually go to any tournaments. In fact, the reason I believe he made it to... The reason he's even in France for this tournament is because he won the online qualifier. And I think they paid his trip or something like that, which is pretty awesome by them to do. So I think this is also a cool, aside from anything else, this is a cool tournament for Solar because it's a really neat opportunity for him to come out and you guys to see him play. And you should definitely show him your support because he's a cool guy. I've spoken with him a few times. He's one of those guys. It's like when they... It means a lot when they actually try to speak English with you. Like, they put in an effort. But looking at this game, nothing's actually happened yet. Both players are opening gasless, which means we could see a rather large number of roaches. Like a really high number of roaches. And by a high number of roaches, I'm gonna guesstimate somewhere between a lot and maybe supply max. There are some weird builds you can do where you let your opponent think that you're going gasless, and then you take both gas geysers and just go for a giant Ling Baneling all-in. Like those builds do exist, but I don't necessarily think that's what we'll see. I would be a little bit surprised, and I'm slowly becoming less surprised because I said it, so it's more likely to happen. The gas is taken first by Solar. He's got the 2 queens. He's actually pushing his creep out a lot, and the early creep pushing, for me, when I see this as a Zerg player, I always think that if you push creep out with your queens early on, the vulnerability of being spotted by something like an overlord scouting your attacks, like, you obviously don't want them to be able to use your own creep to help them attack you. So if you get creep, maybe Solar's thinking about going for something like a big roach push that involves his queens. Maybe he's planning to do a concerted attack where he gathers his forces, or maybe he wants to take the 3rd base out here and needs to be able to defend it a little bit more. But we'll see in due time, as Jaedong's also got his evolution chambers rolling on in, the Roach Warren as well. It's actually a single evolution chamber build from Solar. He's not getting a second Evo, and he's actually starting to put out a few Zerglings. His speed is on the way. So it looks like Jaedong's playing more the economic style with this lair and the double evolution chamber. But Jaedong has also not started his Roach Warren. There it is. So this Roach Warren's actually timed perfectly. It will literally finish when the lair is done. which will mean he can get his roach speed as fast as possible. But Solar might be getting ready to go for an earlier attack. He's got some lings out on the map. He's building 8 roaches. If he builds any more than 8 roaches, I'm gonna really start to think that he wants to bring some heavy aggression, because otherwise he could have just tried to do something else, like take a 3rd base or get a faster lair or get a 2nd evolution chamber. In fact, he's not even upgrading this evolution chamber, which is doubly interesting. Huh. I really wonder where he wants to go with this. 18 lings on the way for Solar. 20. Oh, yeah. So it looks like Solar's just going to try to kill him with a huge roach ling shove and abuse Jaedong's obtaining of upgrades, obtaining of this lair. And, yeah, that's exactly what that creep was for, to get the queens out a little bit further. Oh, man. Do I know my queen meta? And Jaedong's going to be like, oh, I spread creep, and now his queens are coming. Send in some queens. Zergling's trying to get us around on Jaedong's queens, and he will. Those two basically removed from the battle now as the roaches press into the natural expansion. There's nothing to stop Solar from moving in. Is he really going to take a 2-0 lead this early on? The drones have been pulled. The Zerglings are here. Their mandibles digesting this Zerg force of evil geniuses, and it looks like he's going to be able to break through here. He's losing so many of his drones. He tried to hold position them to stop them from being targeted, but he doesn't have enough roaches to actually stop this. 10 more are coming out. 22 speedlings reinforcing this. A 3rd base is on the way behind this for Solar. He's killed off all the drones in the natural. He's trying to move down his main ramp with that, but Solar still has queens. He's going to have Solar's queens. They're going to be in Jaedong's main. And he's still moving more units down the map, still spending endless numbers of Zerglings. GG, Solar takes a 2-0 lead to start the grand finals. Sweet potato loving pie.